Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today's card is a shaker card for the Encouragement Challenge for May for the foster kids. I have this micro bead set. It's a huge set of these tiny little beads. It's by Simon Says Stamp, and it is a lifetime of beads here. I thought it'd be perfect for shaker cards because they're so small. I'm also using the Simon Says Stamp Bare Necessities set and the matching dies, as well as this heart duet. This little heart has stitching around it, and the other one's just a plain heart. I'm going to start by stamping my bear onto some Neenah Solar White cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I'm going to grab some Copic markers and I'm going to whiz through this coloring pretty quickly. I'm going to take my darkest color, which is an E57. This is just 3 different browns. And I'm coloring the left side only, just because I like to do that with my light source on the right side. So I color the next layer with the medium color, and then I add the right-hand side of the bear in with that medium color. And then finally, I'm blending everything out with the E53, the lightest color. And you can see that I go all the way to the edge with this marker, and that helps all the colors to blend really nicely together. I decided to accentuate his nose and belly a little bit by doing the same technique around those 2 areas with the 3 colors. And then I colored in all the little, like his ears and his paws with the E53. And then I took the 2 dark colors away and I added 1 more lighter color. So I've brought in the E51. And I'm just coloring with those 2 colors on his nose and his belly. I'm going to use the matching die to cut him out quickly through my Big Shot. And now I'm going to work on my shaker. So I have a piece of craft foam. It's just the kids foam that you get at the craft store. And I've cut a piece just short of a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 sheet of Neenah cardstock. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily adhere the foam to the cardstock. And the reason I'm going to do this is so that I can run them together through the Big Shot without them moving around too much. And that way I get all of my cutouts exactly where they need to be on both pieces so that they'll match up when it's time to do the shaker. So I just have some surgical tape that I'm going to use in the areas that I'm not going to be cutting. And I'm just going to tap that into place, and now it's ready. So I'm going to grab my first heart, which is the bigger one, and I'm going to place it in the lower left-hand corner, and I'll run it through my Big Shot. And the Big Shot cuts these 2 layers just fine. It looks like it didn't cut the foam, but you just pop it right out. And then I took that small heart piece that has the stitching around the edge, and I cut it 3 times. So I ran, so a total of 4 times running this through the Big Shot. Now the reason I put this together temporarily is because I need to separate them so that I can insert my window sheet in between. So you can see how sticky this gets, and the surgical tape also makes a little indentation in the paper, which is why I wanted to make sure that I put it on the back so you wouldn't be able to see it on the card front. All right, so once I get those 2 separated, I can start working on my balloons. So this is some Stampin' Up! Linen thread. I'm going to cut 3 pieces, 1 for each balloon. I like using this linen thread because it's very pliable, so you can sort of put it in different directions. It's easy to form into a bow and things like that. But you can see it's kind of crimped in the area where it kind of wrapped around this cardboard. So all you have to do is hold it between your finger and your fingernail and just run it across, and it'll take that out right away. So that's really easy to get out. Next, I'm going to put these pieces of string on. I'm going to take my 2A glue pen. I'm just going to glue a little bit on the back side here, and then I'll place my linen thread right on top. You know, this 2A glue pen is always very deceptive. It seems like it's not that much glue, but it really holds things in place. And now that Stampin' Up! Is no longer going to carry it, they've retired it, we're going to have to find a new place to buy it. Okay, so just for added security, I'm going to put some more surgical tape on top of the linen thread. I use the surgical tape for pretty much everything, I feel like. And now I'll pull my strings through. And the reason why I'm doing the strings now is because I want them in front of my window sheet because the bear is going to be holding them. So, you know, as I said, it's really pliable, so all I have to do is kind of press down and it'll hold to the front of the card. One thing I forgot to show you earlier is this new product I bought by iCraft called DecoFoil Foam Adhesive. So it's a giant sheet of foam adhesive, and I thought this would be great for shaker cards. But I want to show this to you up close. It is so thin, it's almost not even foam at all. So on my right is the actual foam, and on the left is the foam adhesive. So I would say the foam adhesive is probably about 1/3 the thickness of the regular foam. So I may have to use it for, I guess, what it was intended for, which is DecoFoil. All right, moving on to my window sheets. I buy it in 12 by 12 sheets from Stampin' Up. They're nice and pretty and clean and clear. I also have some kind of transparency sheets from stickers and things like that I keep in the package for practicing some of my shakers. All right, now I have a clean one and I'm going to mark it using a Sharpie. Rather than run it through the trimmer, I just kind of dot it where it needs to be cut, and then I cut it with a scissor. And that way I maximize the use of these window sheets so that I get the most for my money. So I'm just going to cut this with a scissor, and it's really easy to cut. I'm using my big scissors by Stampin' Up, which of course is also retiring. Kind of bummed about that. But anyway, so I've got my acetate sheet now ready to go, covering my 3 balloons. I'm going to go ahead and glue that on, and I'm going to apply my Tombow glue to the Neenah cardstock. And I'm just going to be careful not to put too thick of a layer because I don't want it kind of smushing out into the heart. Because this glue, I'm using it because it's strong, but it also is tacky after it dries. And so I don't want anything tacky on the front of my card. So I'm just going to place it there, and I kind of held it for a little bit to make sure that it was secure. Now I want to adhere my foam, but because I ran this foam through the Big Shot so many times, it kind of got a little misshapen and smushed a little bit. So I'm just making sure that it's not going to show outside the edge of the card. So I'm just kind of putting it on my Neenah sheet to see where I need to trim it out a little bit. And I did have to trim it out probably on 3 of the different sides, but just a tiny little bit on each side. Now once I get that in place, I want to put the foam on the card base. I don't want to adhere the foam to the Neenah front panel because I still have to adhere my bear, and I don't want any issues with that, plus the linen thread and all that. So I'm going to adhere to my base first. So I'm just going to make sure my foam and my heart, my Neenah panel, the front panel, are lined up perfectly because my foam is a little bit smaller than the card base. And if I put the foam on the card base, I might get it a little bit out of alignment. So I'm going to apply the glue while the foam is lined up on my Neenah cardstock, making sure that I have enough glue right around the edges of those hearts. And then I'll take my card base and line it up with my Neenah card front. So my foam is in between, sandwiched in between, but it's only adhering to my card base. And this is just to make sure that I have everything lined up. And then when I flip it over, I can just take that Neenah cardstock off because all I had it on there for was to make sure that I had my foam in the right spot. I'm going to cut a larger heart out of Real Red cardstock by Stampin' Up just to provide a background for the bear that's going to be in this larger heart hole, and I'm going to adhere it to the card base through the foam just with some Tombow glue. I'm going to use the sentiment from the Happy Panda set that says sending you a big bear hug. And I'm going to use the Misty, but you can see the mini Misty isn't going to work because it has to hang off the side. So I just wanted to show you an instance where the larger Misty might be better than the smaller Misty for all your crafting needs. Anyway, so I'm going to cover up part of it with my surgical tape, ink up part of it, and that way I can split my sentiment onto 2 lines. I do this all the time. Now you guys have seen me do it a million times. So I just have to remember to take the tape off. Sometimes I forget to take the tape off. All right, next I'm going to put my bear into place. I'm going to have him standing kind of behind the heart, coming through the heart toward the recipient. And I'm going to mark where he's going to adhere on the bottom. That way I don't have any glue where it's not supposed to be. So once I mark it with a pencil, I can use my 2-way glue pen to color in some of that part of his legs that's going to be behind, and then I can just press it down on my card front. And then I also added a little bit of 2-way glue behind his ears. And as I said earlier, this glue is pretty strong, so you don't need too much to hold him in place. For the balloon strings, I'm going to use glue dots, and what I like to do with these is I take my paper piercer, I fold it in half, and then I fold it again in half, and it creates kind of a little sandwiched ball, and then I can just use it with my finger, kind of pull it off with my finger off the paper piercer, and that's how I position my glue dots. So I'm just going to press my balloon strings down, and this third one there wasn't enough room on the glue dot, so I had to go and add another one, which is no big deal. These are really small, like I think it's 1/16 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch wide. And then I'm just going to create a bow to hold all of these threads together. And making bows is really easy with this linen thread because you can kind of push it and pull it and stretch it and shape it really easily. And then I'll just put yet another glue dot on top and then press it, and then everything will hold into place really easily, and I'll just trim everything out and I'm done with the balloon strings. Next is to decide what color I want these balloons to be. So I got my micro beads out. And I'm just sort of moving them around, figuring out what I like. I like not too many dark colors together. I don't like pink and blue together, so you can see I tried that. I don't like pink and blue. I also don't like red, blue, and yellow, the primary colors together. I finally settled on these three, and then I switched so that the red was in the middle and it was balancing out the heart in the lower left-hand corner. So I'm going to spill some of these out, and these containers, they're small, but they have a ton inside, and they don't come out really fast, so you can actually shake them out. You could see they didn't fly all over my table, which was nice. And then they close up really easily, and they store in that nice pretty box. So I'm pretty happy with these beads. All right, once I get all my beads poured in, I'm going to take my Tombow glue, and again, making sure I get pretty close to the edge of that heart because I don't want those beads slipping out of my heart. I want to make sure they all stay inside. I did have one kind of run loose there on my glue, and I was able to get that off no problem. Anyway, so I'm going to put my panel on top. Now remember, this is my card base. It's already put together because I glued the foam to my base earlier. I'm just going to press that in place to make sure it's all secure, and then that is it for the outside. So the shaker worked out really well. It's really easy to have the whole thing covered with this foam, and then you have your holes for the beads. The Bare Necessity set comes with a couple of hearts, so I grabbed my Stampin' Up! Real Red ink pad to match my cardstock, and I'm just going to randomly stamp some of these hearts on the inside just to have something else just to pop up when you open the card. And I wanted to keep it pretty simple on the inside. And that's the card. So I hope you enjoyed that. It was pretty quick and easy for a shaker. I tend to stay away from shakers because they're hard to do, but this one was pretty easy. I was impressed with it. I also did another one. It's the same card, it just has different colors in it. I think I prefer the one that has the red because it really helps to tie in that red behind the bear. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.